Hey guys, James Wilson-Taylor here for Rock Sound. It's another of our video calls. We're catching up with everybody while we're all stuck at home at the minute, but I'm delighted to say from Cold Gear's Ross on the line. How are you, man?
Hey, not bad. Yourself?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Keep insane, as I'm sure you are too. And, that's how we've started these off, is just to say, hope you have been as safe and as well as you can in these weird times we find ourselves in. How has your lockdown been going for you, man?
Boring, I guess, is probably the way to put it. We're supposed to be out on tour over the summer, and obviously that's in support of a new record. Obviously that's not happening now. So kind of just writing a lot of music. We did a couple of cool things earlier on last month that will be coming out later on in the year, but writing a lot of music seems to be the way that I've kind of dealt with not being able to leave the house very much.
Yeah, you're not alone in that. It's funny that it's been a recurring theme. Like most people we talk to in one way, shape or another have managed to write, which is no mean feat. When like you say, it's a boring time and everyone's kind of stuck at home. Actually, did you find it difficult to kind of get those creative juices flowing, or was it business as usual?
Really, I think there was plenty to write about. Being in isolation is like kind of a big thing. I guess it gives you plenty of stuff to think about and all the mistakes you've made in your life, which then kind of proactively means you can write more music. I don't know, I just found it a really good opportunity to kind of sit and reflect on stuff, and I just found it a really kind of good process for songwriting. It's great, you're shot your own for ages, you get no one interrupting you, you got no nothing in the way, so there was no distractions. So yeah, it was really, really, really good.
Nice. All right. Good to hear, man. Good to hear. Well, before you get on to things you're writing at the minute, I guess there's more new music to come. Obviously, the world hasn't heard yet. This new album's kind of imminent. Yep. Let's start with the title. It's always a good place I like to start, because it feels like, at least from what I've read that you've been saying recently, a big dripping sense of irony you're throwing over the word paradise. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Our hometown's grey and boring, and I always just wanted to leave there, and I think we wrote this record. I was in a really bad position in my life. I was in a really bad kind of position personally, and I wasn't happy at all. And I think the whole idea of paradise is to escape that reality and to find something that makes you happy. And I think the irony is that it was a really difficult kind of record to write, because when you're writing from a position of unhappiness, it means that you don't want to make the people who listen to your music miserable, but you want to find some sort of solace in the fact that there's always a way out. And that was kind of the idea behind it. Kind of hating your hometown but still home, hating your relationship, wanting to get out of that, wanting to move on to something better. And I think the big thing for me was really trying to go through all that and trying to process it, and we ended up with this record that kind of I don't know, sums up the whole thing, really, I guess.
Is it a love-hate relationship with the town? I mean, because like you say, it's that funny balance between saying, yeah, there's all this shit going on, and there's a lot of problems you find, but there's also a romanticism to it, because it is home and there's that connection, that pull. How do you feel about your hometown now?
I don't know. It's always been a really kind of rich place for the rich people and a shit place for the poor people. That's essentially how I see Aberdeen, because everything's overpriced, everything's difficult, nothing's easy. It's hard to get. Even before all of this kicked off, everything was overpriced, and it was biased towards an industry that's essentially dead, that's killing the planet. I don't really see any justification of that, and I don't particularly see any joy in living in a place that supports that. So for me, I hated that element of my hometown. I hated that it had that past and that it has that kind of, I guess, image in the world. The one thing I will say that changes it, the people. I got the best friends in the world. I got the best family in the world, and they all come from that place. And that, there's a lot of positivity comes from that. We got a lot of great places to go eat and drink and things to do. But, it's not really, I'm not proud to be from there. I used to be proud to be from there. I'm not anymore. I think there's the real kind of summary there.
Yeah, no, but it's because it's funny hearing you say that, particularly about the industry around it, because just reading little bits you guys have kind of put out in initially promoting this record, the obvious influences you've kind of cited with things like the Gaslight Anthem and Springsteen, obviously out of New Jersey, and again, kind of big industrial town, and always wrote about getting out of that town and finding bigger things and all that stuff. Did you find that it wasn't just musical influence? There's a clear thematic influence there too, right?
Yeah, the greatest thing about Aberdeen is that it's the easiest town in the world to write songs about. You know, I literally carry a book around with a pen, and anytime I see something that sparks some sort of inspiration, I'll write it down. I find writing at home easier than writing anywhere else, which is a really weird concept. Because a lot of bands like writing on tour, they like writing in different places, they like going on holiday and writing. I find inspiration in seeing set cobbled streets covered in dog shit in my hometown. You know, that's essentially, you know, it's like that's just, but it sums it up. You know, I mean, it's basically just it's one of these things where it, whether you like it or not, it is part of your identity and it is part of you. You know, it's part of who you are, and where you come from is really important and central to that. So for me, uh, whether I move city or whether I move out of that place, it's always going to be a part of me, whether I like it or not. You know, it's never going to go away.
Yeah, and universal themes, I think, as well. Everyone's always had those feelings about their hometown, one way or another. The constant push and pull, right? That's why you always link to those kind of songs, right?
Yeah, man. Small town mentality is
Exactly.
a big thing where we're from. So yeah, it's almost weird when you come from a place like that, and then you end up going to places like London or Berlin or like any of these huge cities, and it's hard to kind of take in like what's going on at first. It takes you a long time to get used to that kind of way of living, I guess.
Yeah, I can imagine for sure, for sure. Well, let's talk as well about some of the specifics on the record. Of course, the single's out there, Too Far Gone. Let's start with the video because again, it's one of these trends. You had to shoot it in isolation. Talk to me about what were the challenges really in terms of putting that one together?
Standing in front of camera and pretending to play guitar in a quiet room. It was really weird. It's not much, it's not unlike most other video shoots, except there were no professionals there. So it was kind of us just filming it ourselves on iPhones, which, is really, really fun. It opened up my eyes to that side of it. And because to be frank with you, like music videos never really interested me that much. People would always say, we're going to shoot a video for this song. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't really bother me. I'm more interested in the music side of things. But certainly that opened up my eyes. We did a couple of other videos this year that really kind of pushed that ethos as well. And it kind of made me realize how important visuals were with music. And this was really our first time. It was weird because the first two videos we shot in relation to this record was really the first time that we got to really work with really big crews of people and like really big, big companies. And then having to scale that down to going back to doing it yourself was weird because it was like, well, usually you have like 2 days to shoot this and you have a team of people helping you. And this time it was just, it's just us lot on our phones. And we hadn't even seen each other in weeks by that point because the whole country was still in full on lockdown. So the only communication we really had was either WhatsApp or Zoom calls. So to get to do something like this kind of brought us all together because we were all working together on something and we got to see each other over the screen, which was really nice. So it was really collaborative and it was really fun. It was a lot of fun to shoot.
Yeah, it's funny how it takes these kind of circumstances to, that you're suddenly doing all this DIY stuff again that you will have done back in the early days. Like it's kind of crazy how it comes back around like that. You never know. Maybe moving forward, you'll suddenly want to start doing all these kind of things again. Maybe you'll find yourself more and more led to a camera. You never know.
Absolutely, you never know. I think in the DIY side of things, certainly like things like live sessions and engaging with the audience and stuff, that's really important. And throughout this whole period, I've kind of tried to maintain that. It is quite taxing sometimes because you run out of songs to play and you're like, I'm going to have to figure out what to do. But we did them every week for like 12 weeks, I think, live sessions. And they were really great because it was an awesome way to keep in touch with your fans. It was awesome to learn about all the people who were watching you because you could ask them questions like, where are you from? Or what do you do? Or what's your favorite beer? Or what's your favorite song? Like, and it was really interesting to be kind of have that level of engagement, which if you were playing live shows, otherwise you might not have that kind of direct conversation with people all the time. So it was a really interesting thing to do.
Yeah. Do you think it'll impact the live shows when they come back in that way? Again, we've been chatting with loads of people who've done similar stuff and done like a live stream thing. And that's something that everyone has said. It was so nice to have a bit more of an intimate connection with their audience in that way. I don't know how that then gets implemented when you get into the real venues when it happens, but have you thought about how it might affect it?
I mean, I guess people are probably going to want to have more say now, and I think that's probably right. I think live music in general is going to, although it's suffering really badly right now, the inevitable reality is that after all this is over, it's going to benefit greatly because everybody's going to be re-energized to go see shows again, which is, as an artist, is the coolest thing ever. And as a fan of music, I can't wait to go see shows again. I mean, one of the main concerns, I guess, is social distancing, but who knows how long that's going to be enforced for. I can't wait for it to go back to normal, if it ever does. And I think, like, in terms of bands getting to play live again, like that, I think one of the things that lockdown really taught me, and not being able to play, is that you get to do this. You don't have to do it. So when someone says, oh, you've got a show in London and you've got to drive 12 hours down and play it and come home, and otherwise I would have gone, fucking hell, that's like 3 days without any sleep, I'm really tired. Now I'm just going to be like, I get to do this. Like, I get to go and do that. It completely changes your attitude towards live music. And to me, bands, if they're not coming out of the gates kicking and screaming and really, really excited to play live shows, then there's something wrong with them. And I think that's the big difference now. That's what's going to change, is that everybody's going to come out of those gates and fire on all cylinders, and it's just going to be so much more intense. And it's something that I feel like we maybe took for granted before, and now we'll never do that again. So
yeah, that's very wise words to hear. I think it's going to be fascinating when live music comes back properly and see that kind of change in mentality. Because yeah, like you say, both audiences and artists, I think everyone's so dying to see it. You don't know what you got till it's gone, man. Don't know what you got till it's gone.
It's terrible.
Yeah, need it back so badly, man, so badly. Well, yeah. On that note, then I guess this is kind of what I'll start to leave you with. Really, is kind of asking what's next, because you had those live plans there. Have you guys thought about what you want to do once the album's out, how you're going to kind of continue this era, or is it on to the new music you've kind of already been working on?
So for me, I think the biggest important thing that anybody that writes music takes from this is an unprecedented time to have time, I guess, is the biggest thing. Because when you release a record and you turn it all the time, you don't really have time to write, because you're constantly exhausted because you're touring, or you're having to go back to that day job and do that 9 to 5, and then you're just looking forward to rehearsing and going on tour again. So this gave us an opportunity to really look at what we wanted to do next. And I think, for us, it's never a case of just stopping. You're always writing. So for me, I want to write another record. I think we're in the process of doing that. It's hard to say, because you go in and out of, you have like 2 or 3 songs and you're like, oh, this could potentially be on a new record. And then you're like, nah, the next day you hate it and you want to write it off. I think for us, we want to get this year out of the way. Like I think, as most people do, I want the record to come out in September. I want to do the live shows in support of that, although right now I don't really know whether that's happening or not. I mean, it's, again, with regard to social distancing and the feasibility of those shows, and again with even safety, if the country goes into another localized or regional lockdown, we don't know what's happening with that either. So all of it's up in the air. We have a live show in Hamburg in September, and then after that, I'm hoping by the time the New Year's comes around to be able to go out and tour again. And I'm hoping we can go for a pretty prolonged period in Europe or the States. The States is one that we were supposed to hit this year, and it just didn't happen for obvious reasons. And I really was devastated when that happened. Not so much now, but at the time was. And I really hope that, we get to do those things next year. But I just got to wait and see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, is that the big aim for you? Is it the States? Because obviously, you built a bit of a following over here in the UK already and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, is States the kind of big goal for you?
It's weird because we have more of a following in mainland Europe than we do in the UK. So it's weird for us. The dynamic's kind of weird. I'm hoping with this record coming out, it kind of opens up the dynamic a little bit. We've done pretty well in the UK, we've done well in Europe, but the US is something. It seems to be like a lot, like, you get to look at your kind of your digitals, your streams, and you get to see the demographic of where the audiences are listening in from, and there's a large number of those people who are listening from the US. So there's obviously an opportunity there, and for us, like, it's like a childhood dream. When you want to be a rock star, you want to go play in America, like, and it's something you want to do. And really, for me, as a band, it was something that I really was hoping we get the opportunity to do, and I think it will be. Just gotta wait and see.
Yeah, just gotta wait and see, man. Fingers crossed. It'll all return sooner rather than later. That's the aim, man, for all of us, for sure, dude. Ross, really nice chatting to you, man, and best of luck with the album release and everything. I'm sure we'll catch up when things are a bit back to normal. And take care of yourself up there, and we'll see you when we see you. All right,
man. Thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate you, man. All right, Ross.